leaning on a tissue box under here. And I like to lean the board because it allows the paint to kind of move a little freely down the page as opposed to working flat. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I like to work that way because I like when the colors kind of get to do their own thing. This is my full palette. I'm only going to use the 3 colors for you guys though. So what I talked about with you, this is the cadmium yellow or lemon yellow or whatever yellow you like. Permanent rose over here in the corner. And then ultramarine blue right here. So a red, yellow, and a blue. And really you can use that combination for any kind of painting. Pick any red, yellow, and blue, and it really works well. So I'm just going to show you a couple things about, for the people that don't know about color mixing with watercolor. I'm just moving this over a little bit. I'm going to mix a large pool of the yellow. So this is the cadmium yellow. So with watercolor, water is our engine. Water makes the paint go. So you really don't want to use it without water. So, and you want to keep loading up that brush, and we can just pull it down the page. And don't be afraid of the drippy paint. The drippy paint is what makes it so exciting. So there's some of the yellow. Here is what the permanent rose looks like. So I'm just going to put that right below that yellow, and I keep loading up my brush. Can everybody see? I keep getting water there. The more water I add to it, what happens? The lighter it gets. You see that moving down the page, how lovely that is? And then the other color is ultramarine blue. So I'm mixing a big pool of that. And you're not wasting the paint when you mix this much. The only place it goes to waste is when you leave it in the tube. So be generous with yourself and mix some paint. So again, can everybody see nice big pools of paint and using the water to make it move down the page. And watch, I can just take clean water and see how I can lead that blue down the page. I'm getting a little bit of glare on that, aren't I? Just tell me if it gets too glary. And then if I, again, put a little more pigment back in that mixture, so less water, more paint in there. So I changed my ratio. So do you see how it's darker when there's more pigment in the mix? So look, I can push it into that value range. And then what happens if I take my ultramarine and my permanent rose and look at these beautiful violets that I can make? Look at that gorgeous color. And again, if you just add water to the edge, plain water, you get that just beautiful, fluid, transparent feeling. So you can make violets. We can mix our red and our yellow. And what do we get? We get a beautiful, well, that's not too beautiful. We get orange. Oops, won't go too far off the page there. So anyway, that's the kind, you can get so much just with 3 colors. So the more pigment in the mixture, the darker the paint's going to be. So let me just clean this off, and I'm going to show you the painting. I'll move this out of the way. Do we have any questions, James?
No questions yet,
no
Sarah.
questions. Okay, you'll let me know.
The chat is empty.
And I'm just going to switch and get nice clean water here. So again, I'm just working on a piece of 9x12 paper, and this is a piece of Saunders Waterford. It's made by St. Cuthbert's Mill. It's a 140-pound cold press. It's great to invest in good paper. Good paint matters, good brushes. You can use cheap brushes, but good paper makes all the difference in the world. So, and you can always contact me through my website, sarahyeoman.com, if you have any questions about the stuff that I'm doing tonight, or my brushes, my paper. All of my materials are listed there on my website. So you can get that information there. So what I'm going to start to do, I'm going to wet the paper. So I'm just wetting the top part of the paper. I'm going to leave a little bit here, right in here. I'm not going to put any water on there.
Hey, Sarah, will you clarify, is this your sample?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick run through the first time. This is the sample. So nobody has to start painting quite yet because I haven't given you any direction at all. So I just put water kind of halfway, and I'm going to go into my paint here, mix a nice big pool of paint, and see how I keep adding water to this. So then I'm just going to run some blue. And you see how it moves down the page on its own? Run a little blue, and I'm going to mix some of my permanent rose and kind of touch that into the blue, because they'll mix themselves, which is so wonderful. And just pulling that down through the wet paper. And then I'm just going to grab a little bit of my yellow, and I should have told you, you could mix 3 pools of paint when you start so that you have them ready. So here's my yellow, nice and juicy. And don't worry about drips. Dripping, we love drippy paint. So I'm just putting a little bit of yellow there. And where I didn't put water, do you see the paint does not go where I didn't put water. So, and I'm just going to strengthen this a little more down here. And again, it won't come down here either. Do you see that? Because there's no water down here. So it stops at that line. And I'm going to mix, again, some stronger pink and just run it through there. And then I'm going to mix back to my blue. And each time I go for a new pigment, I rinse my brush. Did you see that? So I get some more blue. Let me just run this across here. And I know it looks a little rainbowish, but we're going to take a spray bottle. And I'm just going to lift it up a sec and let them blend a little. There we go. That's pretty. And then I can always turn it upside down and let them blend that way a little too. Watercolor, the magic of watercolor is that you don't always know what's going to happen. And that's what I love about it. There we go. So when people joke about watching paint dry, watercolorists love watching paint dry. There we go. That's nice. So now I'm going to mix all 3 colors. And look at that beautiful color in there. Like if I tried to mix that on my palette, I couldn't get that variety of color. So now I'm going to mix them heavier. So almost like a toothpaste mixture. And this is just the ultramarine and the permanent rose. And I'm just going to take a thirsty brush and lift that up, lift this, just to pick up that extra water there. And again, don't worry about drips. We like drips. All right. So heavier paint. So watch the difference in the value. Nice strong value there. And again, it doesn't look like a landscape. It doesn't matter. We're just building shape. We're building value. So now I added a little bit of the yellow in here. And I'm going to walk you through this whole exercise too. I'm just doing this to kind of show you what it is we're going to work on. So here's a shape there. Okay, we can bring that up a little bit. I'm going to soften this. And I'm going to take the same color. I'm going to run a shape right below this. And look, I'm going to leave a little bit of the white of the paper. So in watercolor, the white of the paper can be one of our values. Doesn't have to be, but it's so beautiful when we let the white paper have a little bit of power. Here we go. All right, so nice. So look at all the different colors I've made so far just with these 3 colors. And I'm going to kind of mirror that shape that I have up here. These are going to end up being mountains. And I can just get rid of a little bit of that white in there. All right, now here's the fun part. This should be clean water. It's not real clean, but watch, I'm just going to wet the bottom part in here. Wet this with water. Don't be afraid of the water. It's our friend. And then I'm just going to kind of come up to this edge with a little pigment. And I'm going to go back to my primaries. Here's some beautiful yellow. Run a little yellow along there. Going to run a little red along there. And because it's already wet, they're going to kind of move down the page on their own. Can you see how I'm getting a beautiful orange in there just by popping a little bit more yellow on top of that? And then here's a little bit more stronger red, and then back to my ultramarine blue in here. Look how pretty the top looks now. Look at the subtlety of that soft transition. This is a little garish in here, but I can tone that down just by putting a little more.
And Sarah, we just had a few people pop into the room, so if you'll just remind everyone what you're doing.
Remind them of what I'm doing?
That you're just doing the example.
This is just the example. This is what we're paint. I'll show you what we're going to paint. This is just an imagined landscape. Just make it up, 3 colors. So I'm just showing you the way to do it very quickly, and then I'm going to lead you step through step on how to do this. But I wanted you to kind of get a feeling of what we're going to be doing. And I don't have to do the whole thing, but there we go. Calm that down. And I'm going to deepen this. And again, we can always turn it upside down again and let it, we can spray it a little bit. Get that pigment to move. I'm going to put a little more red in here. There we go. And again, watercolor dries about 30% lighter than how you put it on. So you have to kind of use a little more saturated paint than you think you're supposed to, and then it should end up in the right place. Let's see, I can do a little bit of lifting. And I just lift with a flat brush. Just going to suggest some of the watery movement in there. Maybe we'll let a little more light show up here. And then I'll just do a really quick version of the second part of the painting, and then we can get started. I'm just going to come in now and put a darker value right here in the top. So it looks like we have a sunset and kind of a silhouetted form.
And Sarah, we have a question. Is the brush you lift with dry?
It has a teeny bit of water in it. Here, I'll hold it up for you. I'll show you. It's a, this is a 3/4 inch Winsor Newton. And what I do is I make sure it's clean, right? And I then put it on my paper towel and I kind of point it and take out the excess water. And then I have this really nice edge that I can use. And you can press pretty firmly. Look at that, how it lifts it right up. And each time I lift, I then take the excess out with my paper towel, because you don't want to just distribute the paint back on top of there. And ideally, I would let this dry first, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the speed version of this. So I'm mixing all 3 colors together. Look at that. I can get a beautiful neutral dark. Can you see that? And fairly heavy. Watch this. I'm going to hold up my palette and see how that paint doesn't move. It's pretty thick in terms of its consistency, almost like buttery in terms of its weight. And when you're working into a wet and wet, you need that kind of heavier pigment. So what I'm going to do now is say that there's a landmass that's a little closer to us. And I'm just going to pull this right up through here. I'm just going to make a shape. And these can come up a little higher over here. And that can go right in front of that. I don't know if that's the moon or the sun or what it is. Doesn't really matter, I guess. And then I just use the point of the brush to kind of do a little bit of calligraphy. We can just let this kind of drip down through here. I love what that top is doing. It's really subtle. This is really garish down here. Yesterday when I was practicing this, I got to this point and then I actually turned the whole painting upside down and said, oh, this is much better. Maybe I'll paint it this way. And that actually would work better that way, but I won't do that. So that is what we're going to work on. And,
hey, Sarah.
Yes.
We have a question.
Yes.
Anne asks what brush you're using now.
This is an Escoda, ESCODA, Prado, Prado. And they are a Spanish brush company. This is a synthetic brush. It's about $18. They do such a nice job. I guess I can hold it up here. There we go. Escoda. And again, you can find all the brushes that I use on my website. You can get these through Dick Blick or Jerry's or Cheap Joe's. I use Dick Blick because they seem to have the best selection of these. I would say 80% of my brushes are now Escoda brushes, and they're very, very affordable. So take a look at those. And this is just a workhorse, this brush, because it's got a great point. It holds a lot of water, holds a lot of paint. And I can show you, well, here's some of my other Escoda brushes. This is a Perla. These have really great points. This is also a synthetic. Here's one of their flat brushes that I love. So Escoda Perla and Escoda Prado, Prado. And again, these are on my website. And send me an email. I'm happy to answer questions. So what I'm going to do, this is enough of this for now. I'll have my son dry this with a hair dryer, and I'm going to get myself ready to do the next painting. So I'll take like a 2-minute break, James. Is that okay? And I will be just going to get a fresh piece of paper. There's the paper.
Hey, Sarah, while you do that, we have a sorry, that's my dog in the background. What number brush were you using there last?
The brush was, where did I put it? It was, I think it was a 14. Yeah, it was a 14. They make they come in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, let me just find, I'll be right back. Let me just get a new piece of paper. There you go. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what's everybody else drinking? I guess I'm turned off.
Oh, you're on, Sarah.
Okay. I wonder what everybody else was having for their quarantinis.
I had my son make me a margarita.
Ooh, Cheers. That's what I'm having.
I'm having a glass of wine, and my daughter's having a non-alcoholic seltzer drink because she's 16.
Oh, you know what that's called? It's called a placebo Rita.
I'm drinking a maple martini made with maple sap and vodka.
Oh my God, that sounds fantastic.
I'm drinking sparkling grape juice.
Oh, wonderful.
Because she's 8.
That's good. Now, is it like pink or is it kind of clear?
It's kind of clear, like
Kind of clear. Okay. So does everybody have out their brushes and their palette and everything that wants to paint? Hopefully. All right, so I'm going to get started. And if you can't keep up, remember, don't worry about it. It's a piece of paper. We're here to have fun. And sometime with watercolor, the happy accidents are the best. And I'm just going to get fresh water. I'll be right back. All right, so here we go. I got clean water and a fairly clean palette. Let's make sure you can see that. And then I have a sponge. It's a dirty sponge, but I keep a sponge next to my water container so that when I go to rinse my brush, I touch the sponge so that the excess water comes off. And then when I put my brush into my well, I'm not introducing a lot of extra water into that well. So that's what the sponge is for. You'll see some people using rolls of paper, toilet paper, though maybe not anymore with the shortage. You can have paper towels there, but I just use like a household sponge. All right, so what I'm gonna do, again, I have my Saunders 9x12, and I'm just gonna put, again, we don't have to draw. And if you guys decide that you really enjoy doing this, we might think about doing it again in the future, and maybe have a few more colors. And we can do something a little more advanced maybe, but doesn't have to be. Whatever is best for you guys. So see, I'm putting water. It's a little dirty, so you can actually see where the water is. How's that white balance? Okay. Again, just leaving a little bit of white paper. And I'm going to start off with my blue and just run that across the top. And you see, I mixed a nice big pool of blue. I get the blue and then I dip in there and grab the water. Do you see that? So the brush is almost like a sponge. So just ran that across and look at how that starts to move down the page all on its own. So I can pull that down a little more, and really I just touch the brush. See how the brush just sort of dances across there? Then I'll grab a little bit of my Permanent Rose, and I can just sort of float that across there. I mean, you can even take the two colors and mix them, so you can get a lovely sort of red-violet that way too. And I'm just touching it in there. I'm not forcing the paint onto the piece of paper. And every time you do this, it comes out differently because the paint does its own thing. We're just here to help the paint do what it wants to do. That's pretty. I like what that's doing. I love the softness of those colors. And then I'm going to get a little stronger pink in here, or Permanent Rose. Move that through there, and then I'll get some of the yellow. Oops, I have dirty yellow. Some of the yellow, and I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of the red just to make a little bit of an orange. So it's really neat just using the 3 colors because you can't really make mud. There we go. We'll put some of that orange and yellow in there. There we go. And again, pick up that excess. See, I use a thirsty brush and just pick up that excess paint there on that edge. There we go. That looks kind of nice. I might deepen this sky a little bit. This is kind of the view that I have from my family's cabin on Indian Lake. We face west, so we get to see the sunset every night, which is lovely. There we go, a little deeper. That's pretty. I like the violet next to that. Maybe I'll do a little more of the violet. There we go. Just touch some of that in there. And however yours looks is fine. There's no right way of doing this. Again, we're just playing. So now I'm going to mix all 3 colors, and it doesn't have to be real dark. Do you see that? I'm kind of making a deeper purple. I can add a teeny bit of yellow into it. Back to a little red. Am I going too fast for everybody, or are we doing okay? Are there questions at all, or keep going?
Give us a thumbs up if we're going about the right speed. All right, we're doing good.
I guess we're doing okay. Good, thank you. All right, so now I'm just going to pull a shape straight across here, right? You want it to be a little bit of a darker value than your sky. Do you see the change in that? That is a deeper value than that. And it's fairly neutral, and I'm just making a shape. I'm not painting a mountain. I'm not painting water. I'm just making a shape. And then again, I'm going to reload this pool of paint. Same kind of mixture, because the paint runs out, and unfortunately the brush does not store extra pigment in it. So we have to continue to mix this. And it's just kind of a smoky purple. There we go. And now I'm going to take this line and make it a little more interesting, right? So I just started with the shape and then turn the shape into something. There we go. And your shape can look however you want it to. Boy, that is a big moon.
Hey, Sarah, we have
Yes.
a question from Judy. Asks, what colors did you mix just now?
That is the same 3 colors. That is ultramarine, permanent rose, and yellow, and the cad yellow. And watch, I'll do it again. So ultramarine, but what it is there's not as much water in the mixture, so I can make a dark. So there's the yellow. See how I made it beautiful? And I'll show it to you on the back of this. You see how I made a beautiful dark just with a red, yellow, and a blue. So that's why it's so neat to work with limited palettes, because you can get so much of what you want just from 3 colors. And I will go in, watch this. I'm going to just take a little clean water, and I'm just going to soften this edge. And then I'm going to soften this edge, because that light is coming behind the mountain shape. That is a big moon. That's okay. All right, so we're mixing that same dark value again. Ultramarine blue, permanent rose, and the cad yellow, red, yellow, blue. And we're going to leave a little bit of the white paper. So watch this. I'm just going to make a line and load up that brush, because if you're getting skip marks in here, you don't have enough paint in your brush. And see, I go and get more paint every couple strokes, and I keep mixing it. There we go. That's better, right? So it's great with watercolor to use a limited palette, because then you really learn what those colors can do. You don't have to have 100 colors in order to paint with watercolor. So look, I'm making this reflective shape in here, right? Still nice and dark. And I'm gonna just eliminate a little bit of that white here and there so it's not just too obvious. There we go. Oh, that's pretty. All right, so there's that dark shape there. And now, I actually like the sky now. It looks more like a moonscape. And I'm gonna take water. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of white paper in here so that moon can reflect. So water. And you don't have to wet it first, but it's so nice to wet it because then you don't get the hard edges. So, and as you can see, I'm not real careful. All right, so here we go. I don't think I'll use pure yellow. I think I'll mix the yellow and the red first to get a nice kind of warm orange, because it's not quite as, oh, look at that. And I'm just touching it right at that edge. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. See that? Just, I'm floating it into that damp paper. And you barely have to even push it around it because it wants to move on its own. And then I'm going to add a little more permanent rose to this. Not a lot more water though, because we already have water on the page. So a little deeper. A little deeper. And then just permanent rose kind of by itself. And the blue, oops, blue. Yeah, and watercolor is different from other pigments like acrylic and oil. I do use both of those, but we don't use them in the same kind of, whoopsie, the same weight that you would use with oil paint. Don't worry if you get a drip, it doesn't matter. There we go. It's going to take some of this blue and kind of touch it in there. Some of the, I'm going to mix the permanent rose and the ultramarine together. Right, just deepen this a little. I can soften that. And put a little more. Just running a little bit of that along there so it's not quite so stark. There we go. And, you know, there's always splattering. Well, that's pretty. Now that looks like nice drippy water. All right, I think I like that. Any questions on that part? So that's what, that would be our first wash. So what we have in our first wash is we have the white of the paper, which is one value. The second value is the values in the sky and the values down in here. And then our third value is the darker value of that mid-ground. So now we're going to make an even darker dark. Can we take 2 minutes, and I'm just going to take a hair dryer to this? Is that
Hey,
okay,
Sarah?
James? Yes.
One thing before you go, they said,
Yeah.
can you demo the light on the water again? We have a few people who are a little behind you, so we may want to let the 2 minutes to let them catch up is great, but if you could demo the light on the water again, they'd appreciate it.
Demo the light again on the water?
Yes.
Okay, let me, I'm going to get a new piece of paper because I can't demo it on here. Here, oh. Let me move this one out of the way a sec. So we're going to imagine we have, you know, here's the dark landmass. Here's the reflection. give me just a second to make this look like something. All right, there's, all right, mountains, 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 mountains. All right, so what I'm gonna do, because the light is gonna be through here reflecting from the light here. Does that make sense? So what I'm gonna do is wet it, and I should have clean water, but I don't. I'm gonna wet it. I'm gonna leave this like vertical piece in here, which is gonna be kind of the moonlight reflecting. I'm not gonna put any water on that. I'm gonna put water kind of everywhere else. Right? And it can get a little bigger as it comes out. There we go. So now when I drop the water in, I mean the pigment in here, right? It's not going to go where here, let me bring that down. It's not going to go where we didn't put water. Does that make sense? I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. So we can put that in, and then we can get a little bit more of the permanent rose kind of color. Touch that in. And we're just floating it in that wet paint. Can you see that? I mean the wet paper. And then back to some blue. And then I can take sort of just a damp brush and watch this, touch those edges with a damp brush. And then you can always take a little bit of the pigment and just kind of use the pointier brush and, you know, do a little bit of lines across. Does that explain it? Does you guys understand that one a little bit? Oh, I can soften that.
And Sarah, we have a few people who would like a little bit of time to work and catch up.
Absolutely, and I will hair dry mine and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Is that okay? And I'm gonna sip my Quarantini. Okay, see you in a few. Oh my God, such a talker. I'm such a talker. It's okay. Yeah, I'm taking a everybody's catching up to me. Is it working? Same problem?
Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
I'm listening.
And everyone, as soon as Sarah comes back in the room, we'll get her to put the sample painting back up for you. Hey, Sarah, can you throw the sample painting back up?
Yeah, there it is right there. Sorry, I
Thank
had
you.
to dry it.
Just a moment.
Oh, I'm gonna get fresh water.
Hey, Judy, yes, every time I try to talk to Sarah, my iPhone thinks I'm trying to talk to Siri.
Were you talking to me?
Oh, no, we were laughing because every time I try to talk to you, my iPhone thinks I'm talking to Hey Siri, and it answers.
Oh,
So we have a question. Will they need to dry their paintings as well?
you could if you have a hair dryer handy. It might be really helpful.
But not needed.
You don't have to. Again, it's just because we're going to put another value on top of this, but it's okay if it's a nice soft, if the edges are soft, because we're almost done. But you see how it's so simple, just getting it in this way, just with 3 colors. And we'll do one more application of paint and be done. And you'll just let me know when you want me to start.
So hey, everyone in the room, if you're, I'm watching you if you're on camera. Are you guys ready to move on, or would you like a few more minutes? Thumbs up if you're ready to move on, and thumbs not up if you're not ready to move on. All right, sir, we're getting a lot of thumbs up, so I think we can move ahead.
Oh, cool.
Harry wants
Oh.
a minute.
I'm sorry, one more minute. And just a reminder, if you have questions or comments, thank you for utilizing that chat feature. That's great. The other thing is this is a good time while everyone's catching up to plug. You know, we're happy, the LPCA is so happy to provide this service for you guys. And we're so happy for Sarah. However, if you would like to give us a little bit of support, we would certainly appreciate it. I'm going to throw a donate now button up in the chat room. So certainly not required, but appreciated if anyone feels so inclined.
Just a quick question, since nobody's talking, will this be available for us to see again if we want to try again?
Yes, we are recording this and we will send it out in an appropriate manner to be determined soon.
Thank you, because I will probably need to try again. Thank you.
Well, and this is just a great exercise to do too, because you don't have to worry about a drawing.
All right, let's get a thumb check and see if we're good. If we're ready to move on, let's get a thumbs up. Thank you for your thumbs. All right, so Sarah, I think we're good.
Thumbs up here too. I'm ready to proceed, and we don't have a whole lot more to do. We're just gonna put our last shape in and our last value. So we're gonna go as dark as we can go now, because we're gonna have a silhouetted landform. Again, if we look at this original one that I didn't put a moon in this one, but today I ended up putting a moon or a sun in here. So I kind of like that. So now what I'm gonna do is create a landmass, a nice dark on the left side, and you can see it here. you see I have a nice dark here, which then gives us passage into this part of the painting. So I mixed the same 3 colors, and I actually did add a little bit of Payne's gray. If you have a darker value, that's fine. If you don't worry about it. But I just wanted to show up well for you on this monitor. So I'm really pushing my value. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just putting a dark, can you see that nice dark shape in there? Nice dark value. And again, I'm not painting trees. I'm just making a shape. This is gonna be a land. We all know the Adirondacks, and you know, we have these beautiful little peninsulas that kind of come out, and then we can kind of paddle kind of past them. So I'm gonna do a couple of, just holding my brush, I'm using the tip sometimes, and then I'm just doing a little bit of kind of calligraphy with it. And again, take the side of the brush and pull up. See how you get those beautiful sort of dry brush trees without them looking kind of like telephone poles. There we go. Pull that up, and then you can use the tip of the brush and again, just wiggle it back and forth. If you ever look at Winslow Homer's paintings of the Adirondacks, he does a lot of the white pines in his paintings, and they're always kind of twisted and leaning one direction, and that's because we have those prevailing winds in the Adirondacks. So you can always kind of tell which direction the wind blows. So just getting some of these in here, and we can let something come right over top of the, looks like a harvest moon, doesn't it? There we go. So a nice dark shape. Maybe this one's going to come up a little higher. Again, no, don't say too much. That's a little too even, but that's all right. Here, we'll let this come out a little further. And then I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to have a reflection. And some of this is going to come straight down. I'm going to let some of that come right over there. Can you guys see what I'm doing? I'm just using the tip of my brush. And again, not painting trees. I'm really just wiggling the brush back and forth. There we go. Not thinking too much, just throwing some paint on. And you can always use, if you have a spray bottle, you can always use a spray bottle and just lightly spray. This is a Holbein spray bottle. They're about $2.99. And in terms of tools that are important to me, my spray bottle comes right after my brushes, because this is just so wonderful to have, because you can soften edges. You can loosen up the pigment a little bit. You'll see this, it'll just start to move a little, and you can get texture with it. Oops, that might have been too much texture. Just gonna pull this out a little further. Yep, kind of covering up my moon a little bit. Here, let's bring that back. So yeah, it's a little too much water. Let me pull that up a little higher. There we go. A little higher here. And with my flat brush, here's another thing you can do with lifting. It looks like we're getting a little bit of a glare on there from that really wet paint. Watch what I can do. I can actually lift the shoreline on this form that's in front, which is kind of fun. And I can lift, I can say maybe there's a tree shape in there, like one of those old birches, and it's kind of reflecting. Let me clean up that edge a little. There we go. Just going to lift a little light in there. That's a little hard edged. So do you see I just put a darker value in there, covered up some of the white in here. So really pretty much all the same colors, and just added a little bit of Payne's gray to it. So this is an exercise you can do at home. You don't have, sometimes it's better to not work from a photograph because we're not tied into a certain result and it leaves us to just experiment. We're not married to our photograph. So try these kind of imagined landscapes at home. And it's a really great way to learn how to use your pigments and understand color mixtures and the weight of the paint. So I want to thank you guys for being here tonight, and I want to thank James and John and Tara at the Art Center for giving me this opportunity. I just think it's a wonderful way to pull us all together as a community, and I hope to do more of these. I know they have plans for the future, and again, if you can, there's a donation button that they're going to have where you can donate to the Art Center. I'm not making any money on this. It's just important to me to give any way I can. So I think that's about it for tonight. And are there other questions, James, that I can answer?
We just have some thanks to you from everyone in the room for giving your time and giving everyone a great opportunity. So we'll echo that and say thank you, Sarah. If we could get everyone who is painting, I can see everyone on your little screens. If we could get you to hold up what you have for the camera, it would be great for us to get a picture of everyone's images all together. So hold them up and let me just hang out there while I get everyone up, and I'll tell you when we're doing it. Oh, there you go, Sarah. That's good. Here we go. We're going to take this shot. And everyone looks so good. You're so good. Marilyn, look at that. Look at that, Judy. That's great. All right, I'm going to take this in 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. And Tara, are you on? I don't.
I am on. Hi. Let me just
Hi,
get
Tara.
back up. Hi. Wow, you guys all did such beautiful work. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for what you've done. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. I'm going to be emailing everybody tomorrow with information about our next paint and sip. In this case, it's going to be a print and sip. Next Tuesday night, we're going to be offering a printmaking class. So I will send you guys that information tomorrow, and more to come. We're looking to try to line these up once a week in the coming weeks, and then we're going to start adding some more intensive sign-up workshops moving forward, and hoping to get Sarah involved in that as well, so you guys can work with her again. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to add. I'm here. I'm here from home, but I'm here. So please shoot me an email. It's Tara, T-A-R-A, at lakeplacidarts.org. Thank you so much, everybody.
Good. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to leave the room open, so if you want to keep painting or chatting, you are more than welcome to do so. And if not, we will see you next time. Thank you for being patient with our technical abilities as we figure out virtual paint and sips, but we appreciate it, and we hope you had a good time. So thank you all very much.
Thanks. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Hey, Carrie.
Hi.
Is that Carrie?
Yeah.
Hi, Carrie.